Welcome everybody to our webinar. My name is Rick Rockershausen. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at Grid Connect. And our partner company, we're excited to have them with us today, NETO from the Czech Republic. We have two presenters with us, Bretislav, who's the CEO, and Carla, the Sales Director at NETO. We're relatively new partners in this space, so we're still growing our market here in the US. And we're excited to have this their time in this webinar to help us reach out to more people here. So without further ado, I just want to go through a few ground rules. If you have a question, at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A button that looks sort of like this. That's where you can submit your questions at any time. We have a couple of people monitoring the Q&A. If we know the answer to your question, we can just type it in there. We'll do that. If it's something we want to bring in real time, we'll do that. If it's something not related that we can save to the end, we'll do that. So there will be time at the end for a live question and answer. And it's a relatively small group here today, so you may have all the time to yourselves with the NETO folks. That's pretty interesting. All right, and just a little bit about Grid Connect. We were started in 2003. We're located west of Chicago in Naperville, Illinois. And we are an industry leader in developing and selling networking products, just things like NetIO, for example. So like I said, just hit the Q&A if you have questions. And then without further ado, I will kick it over to Carla whenever she's ready.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I will share my screen quickly. Just a moment. Perfect. Thank you, Rick, for the introduction.
Sure.
And thank you, everyone. As Rick said, I'm from sales. Bretislav is the CEO, but he was our CTO before, so we are ready for all kinds of questions you would have for us. So we like questions as well, so please ask whatever you're interested in. We will try in some half hour to 45 minutes help you understand how to save energy and how to automate some remote control with our products. So basically, just to tell you quickly at the beginning, we are a European company. We are based in Czech Republic, and we produce all of our products here close to Prague. And we are strictly focused to B2B market. So we are mostly helping businesses in their projects. B2C market is very far from us due to different sets of features, and we, through distributors, usually work with system integrators, IT or AV departments, and so on. So generally, what do we do? We have network power sockets. So all of our sockets, all of our products are connected to LAN or Wi-Fi. That's how they work. We can switch every single output on and off or restart individually. And we do that with a certain kind of quality as well. So I will not talk about it too much at the moment, but if you're interested at the end, you can ask a little bit more, just to tell you that we switch our products, we are timing switching our products at certain moments, so our relay is not destroyed as it would be with some more, let's say, B2C type of PDUs you could find. As said, we do switching, and additionally to switching the outputs, we also do power metering. Certain products have power metering on each output separately, and we meter all parameters of power. So then based on this, you can also control the outputs on or off. The way we do this is through a couple of things. We have web interface. As standard, on some products there are buttons. We have mobile app for maybe some smaller projects, if you like, or for some quick action remotely, and then there is NETO Cloud. We will discuss about it later, but this is additional service that we offer to you in case you want to use it. What is special about our products is our industrial features we will discuss. We have quite long temperature range, quite big temperature range as well, -20 to +65. And we have high precision of metering in this whole range. There is high security, and the most important, what most of our users like, is the open API. And this is something that will help you generally automate some of the processes in the company. When it comes to saving energy, we do it in a couple of different markets. Our main and biggest market is remote control and restarting, and this is the segment which will help you automate whatever you like when it comes to your business. We have on all of our products scheduler, which will help you to switch off your devices during night, during weekends. There is watchdog to automatically restart certain output if there is no response from the product you connected. But at the moment, I will just quickly tell you the main points, and then we will go a little bit deeper into these features in the next slides. Further on, we work a lot with AV market and IT market from different sides. So I said we have open API. So what you can do, you can connect our devices to third-party software. We already have created drivers for softwares like Restaurant, BrightSign, and so on. So you can control NETO from one of these softwares, or if you or your customer has their own software, you can easily connect it and control the software through this control output through this software. The last thing, and the last, let's say, type of a market is the power analysis market. This is something that is more interesting for automation, I would say, because this means that we are measuring the power, and based on the power, we can switch on the outputs or restart them. For example, if you have one like how to call it, like a hotel village with bungalows, and each bungalow has a little solar panel, and they have a boiler. So as we are metering the energy, also the one that comes back to the product, we know when is the time to switch off the boiler and start using the solar panel. With this, you can again save the energy, save your money, and generally save the environment at the end of the day. This is just one quick example of what can be done with analyzing the power. But Bretislav will show you a little bit later on a watchdog example. This is a list of our products. As you can see, we don't have a big portfolio, which is great because you don't have to think too much. We go from 1 output to 8 outputs. And the difference basically is in the number of outputs and if the product is metered or just switching on and off. We created different housings just to adjust to your project. If you need something, let's say behind the screen, there is this little 2 output flat power cable. If you want something in your 19-inch rack, you can use the 8QS version and so on. So basically, as I will show you, most of the features that we talk about, they are in all of the products. It just depends, as said, if you want metering or you just want to switch on and off. All of them will help you to resolve the problem. Currently, just to mention, we don't have any product that has a US socket. We have our customers at the moment are using these C13 outputs, and beginning of the next year we will have some products that are also using US sockets, if that is preferable for you. This is the overview of our Open API. We will talk about it further later on. And this is the overview of our features. So from the energy saving side, the most important one is the scheduler. It is the most favorite feature used from our customers last year. It's because you can switch off all of your equipment during the night, during the weekend, or anytime when you're not using it. Important to say is that the self-consumption of NETO products is very low. So when you switch off maybe some amplifier or some big machine, it's off, but it's still consuming power. The good thing with NETO is that the self-consumption is very low, and this is where the saving comes. Then when it comes to automation, there are ping and power watchdog. There are conditions and rules we will discuss. There is something interesting on metered products that is digital input. So you can connect, for example, motion detector or smoke detector, and let's say someone passes by and it can trigger output number 2 to turn on the lights or alarm or anything similar that would be interesting for you. Then there is power up sequence. I will show it to you on an example. And again, it's most of our products have all of these features, so you don't have to worry too much. Our additional product or service is NETO Cloud. NETO Cloud is a place where you can control, you can put all of your products into one place. Bretislav will explain you later on specifically from the cloud how it looks like a little bit more. Just to tell you that our cloud is secured both from device to cloud and from cloud to user. And it has open API. It is a paid service, but it's something that is quite low priced generally on a yearly basis. And at the beginning, you get a welcome credit, which will last you for about a year for the basic plan. And you will have time to test all of the options, how it works, how will it help you with alerting per email that some output is off or that something needs to be restarted, with some sharing of the user rights and so on. So this is just additional option if you want to use it. If you don't want to use the cloud, you don't have to. You can use your own software, Open API, or just make some scheduler automation in our web interface. And then there is NETO mobile app. You can use it both with Android and Apple. And you can use it locally on LAN or on cloud, over cloud. It's the same. You can group the outputs. You can restart the outputs based on the groups. If that's what you like, you can switch on off only one output. And today, this is used mostly for smaller projects, because if you have, I don't know, 500 outputs, I don't think you want to search through the app, but more on a desktop. But it's just more or less my opinion. I don't know, Rick, if you want to share any questions so far, if there was something, or should I continue to use cases?
So far, we don't have any questions. I think your presentation is crystal clear, I guess. So.
Okay. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to set them up. We will go now a little bit more into depth of what I discussed briefly, what I spoke about briefly now. One of our really nice and big use cases are usually digital signage use cases. I don't know if any of you are from digital signage company, but usually we work on switching on and off screens in supermarkets, post offices, bus stops, in banks, fast food restaurants, and so on. This one we installed in France and Spain in one supermarket chain, and basically what they wanted to do is to monitor the power consumption of screens. It's this power watchdog I was mentioning. The way it works is that you set up what is the power consumption of your TV. And if the power consumption of this TV drops to something little, like some few watts, it means that the TV is in idle mode or it's not working, and you want to automatically restart it. This is what this power watchdog does. This restart is local on the device, and you don't need any additional software for it. But if you want to get an email about it, that's the time to use cloud, basically. And I will ask Bretislav now to talk a little bit more specifically about Watchdog.
Okay, so I will store your screen. We will see. So let's switch to the device web interface. In general, our device are standard IP-based devices. You will install the IP. It has its own settings for the standard network. So networked power socket. And basically then you can get to the web administration. As Carla said, one of the options how you can control the device. So you can see the basic screen, switching on and off the outputs. Let's see what's happening there in the device. Now, related to this use case, what can be done? You know already that you can switch every output one by one. You can see the consumption. This is something what you can use like this way, only by seeing the values, but it's not automation. You have to have a time to go in and make something manually. Once you want to automate something, we are offering, let's say, 3 kind of setups, or let's say categories of a setup, which you can put together and make a configuration which makes some things instead of you. So you don't have to take care about it. And additionally, if you want, you can get a notification about that something happened there. So the first one is, as Carla said, is, let's say, PAB's kind of power analysis block. It's different types of configurations. So this one means that you can check if some load of one output. So that means if the TV, which is connected to output 1, is in specific range where should be. So that means when the device has different consumption, let's say different consumption then in between 1 or 20 watts for the time of 120 seconds, it means that something is wrong. What to do with this information? Every this kind of rule or setup is named by your custom name. This one is called CR03PAB. I will explain later what that means, but generally this is our example. You can find also even on the website. If you go to our website as a producer and go to the support and check what we have there, is a description of everything. But you can go to NETO wiki, and this is this condition and rules example. And I will go here. I will see that there is this CR03 load watchdog example, and the configuration is described. So here's the description of the configuration which I am showing you now. So let's back to the device. If you are not sure, you can open the manual directly from the web interface of the device. It's online. It's not in the device, so you have to be online. So we have the detection that the power consumption of the TV is out of the range. Then what to do with that? it will set up some internal, let's say, flag that this rule is enabled and is active, and there is some alarm. Based on this rule, you can create some action. For example, this means that if this condition is in the range and there is the logical state, so in the rules you can work with logic states of the conditions, and, or, 0, true, false, true, and so on. Do something. So that means once the range is out, once the consumption is out of the range, do action 2 on output 1. That means action 2 means restart. So it will make short of on the output, and the TV will be hard restarted automatically. So that's the way how it can be automated independently on the internet, locally in the device, just depending on what is connected to the output. So it's Power Analyzer. Is everything clear? Any questions? Do we have any questions about this?
No one has typed a question, but I have a question.
Okay.
So the restart means you're going to turn that output off and then back on again?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then
that's
how long does it stay off?
It can be configured based on the output. So if you go to the detail of the output, here's the short on off delay. So by default, it's for 5 seconds, but you can specify it customly how long it should be off.
Okay.
So it can be set up out one by one output. Every output has different can have different value. So it's kind of, let's say, small automation based on power consumption. If your device don't have metering, or let's say the situation technology don't allow to use power, there is also something what is called standard ping watchdog. So ping is basic IP tool to detect if some device is online. So it's make like this. Here I am detecting that the device with this IP address is responding every 60 seconds, and if it not respond 5 times or until 5 seconds, sorry, and once only, it will reboot the output. Let's say in the end it will again set some flag, and you need to set up the rule what will happen. And it's this first one. Example condition rules number 1 is that means once this ping watchdog is failed, do something. And again, at this moment, we are restarting the action. We are restarting the output 1 by short of command. This number is specific because we have different type of commands. 0 is switch off, 1 is switch on. It's straightforward and clear. 2 is short off. That means that the device automatically switch off the output, and in the specific delay, as Rick asked, will turn on automatically. This is good once, for example, you have a router or connectivity connected to the output, and you will cut the branch of to the device, to connectivity to the device. You can rely on the device; it will do it automatically. Some of the B2C devices have this managed from the cloud. So that means when you switch off and cut the connectivity, you are not able to switch on back again. So it's quite important feature. Action number 3 means that you can make short on. So when the device is on, you can switch on to specific time, the same value. Action number 4 is just toggle. So switch the state to the opposite one. So it's shortly about the condition rules, PAB, and watchdogs. Every category has its own manual on our wiki. So if you open it, you can check the details of every configuration, input variables, and so on. So that's first example. Carl, I hope I said everything what was used in this case.
Could I just clarify one thing there?
Yeah.
You showed the IP address. So what you're saying is if the device connected to an output has like a web server associated with it, like a router, or maybe even a display has some web page that you can get to, if you ping that IP address and it doesn't respond, then you restart that output to kind of get it going again, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, okay. This is based on ping. and ping is on the low level of network, so
Yeah,
it's not checking the high level of web service and so on. Yeah, definitely you can put here also domain. So if I will put there Google, it will work also.
perfect.
And
So
you
that's
can
just
also,
checking if you have internet access in that case, right?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly for this. And sometimes can be useful, for example, when you are checking the internet access and the server where you are pinging is off, it will restart your router also, but it's not your fault, like your system. So you can also combine up to 32 of these watchdogs, and for example, have for sure 2 IP addresses just to respond. So you can restart only if both of these addresses are not available. So
Right.
it's, let's say, kind of fuse to be sure that
Yeah.
your router is the one who is not working.
Yeah. So not that Google is down, but maybe if
Yeah.
Google and Yahoo are both down, then that means the internet is
Exactly.
down. Yeah.
But I think if Google and Yahoo are both out down, we have bigger issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Karelas, you can switch back to keep the time.
Perfect. Okay, so then the next use case that we have is a boat use case, basically. One of our customers is using NETO on fishing boats for remote control of communication equipment and satellite communication. What people like about it is they don't have to travel to the location to switch something on and off and basically waste time on traveling there or explaining people on the phone where exactly they have to switch something. This is what simplified the process here. And in this case, I mostly put it because they were using OpenAPI URL API for control. So it will lead us a little bit later to explain a bit about our open APIs. Also, when we are talking about boats, there are a lot of cases for us nowadays growing with yachts. So it's in different server rooms for different reboot of AV equipment and so on, and generally for power cycling of the routers there. Another part for API is Fun Park. Around Europe, we have a couple of fun parks who are using NETO. In this case, they connected it to their own mobile app because they are controlling this kind of
vending machines.
Yeah, these machines, and as there is no one who has to be there during the day, they need to close it in the evening, and they prefer doing it from home, just to close on and off, or to do it over scheduling at certain time of the closing time of the thing. But Scheduler is not always great because they have to check that there is no one standing there, so they don't stop and hit someone while they are under the door. This is the next interesting part of NETO is that we have power up sequence in all of our devices. This means that you can switch on each output in a sequence one by one with a certain delay. A good example for that is if you have a couple of UPS units, and you don't want to put them all down and have your power grid getting destroyed, basically, because the breaker gets tripped. And the easiest way how to solve this is just to simply switch one after another after another. A good way, a good example for this also are in AV world. People like to do it with amplifiers, or also like to start, I don't know, router first, then another product, then third product, etc. As well, you don't have. Yeah.
In general, if I can comment, this is one of the critical issues. Maybe you experienced that when the power gets off, there is a power loss in the power grid, and then it automatically comes back, and it will trip your breaker. because exactly this exactly this inrush current is the reason why. And it's not issue just only for UPS, but it's issue for all the standard switching power supplies, which are used in every IT equipment today, even for the laptops and monitors. So it just depends if you have like bigger servers there, or for example, some kind of AV equipment or IT equipment. All of these devices use this kind of power sources, which is this high inrush current peak. By the power up sequence, you can balance it to the time. So that means the circuit breaker will not be activated in the end.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you, Carla.
No,
I
no,
can
that's
switch.
good.
But do you want to
And
say something?
no, I still have a few, and then I will give it back to you. It's just that this is something that quite many customers as well are asking for. So we know that it's something that will always stay with our products. Then next to power up sequence, there is also power up state. In this case, this is just example photo, but it describes our use case in remote locations. So we're basically restarting delivery kiosks at the locations that are a bit further from bigger cities, and sometimes there are thunderstorms, sometimes there are issues again with power outages. And what they want two things. One thing is to restart this device regularly. Another thing is to have it in the same state as it was before the power failure. This is what the power up state does. With power up state, you can define what happens with your output after the power failure. So if you want your output to be on, off, or in the previous state as it was before, we will show it now with on the interface. So you can steal my screen.
Yes, again, back to the device. So as Carla said, the first point is the power up sequence. It's set up every output has the setup of the power up delay interval. It's separately for every output, and it's absolute time from the start of the device. So you can specify it absolutely in milliseconds in the end. By default, every output is differentiated by 1 second. So it's automatically depends on number of output. You can see that the number is changing here from 1 to 4 seconds. What is nice on this absolute specification and customization, just by save the value, is that once you have, for example, 3 devices like this, spread it over the room. So you are not able to use just one device because you need more places to control, but everything is connected to one circuit breaker. You can set up for the first device the delays like 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. For the second device, you can set up 5, 6, 7, 8. And for the last one, you can set up 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that means you can put the power up sequence for all the devices as it would be like the one, like one device in total. So it's nice thing on the absolute setup of this power up. About the power up state, it's something which is very important when you use the devices for your business, because you want to know what happened after power failure. And as you know, power failures are happening quite a lot in the end, even in the Western countries and developed countries. So you can define what will happen when the device is started. So you can set that the output is on, you can set that the output is off, or you can choose, I will use the last state, what was before the power failure. The device is saving the state into its memory, so you don't need to any internet connection and so on. It's automatic. So it's basically about the power up state and on off delay. There was one case from the plant in Vienna which was using the APIs, so I will just quickly show you the APIs. Here is the list of API protocols. We can split it into 3 categories. Let's say the first one is old technology compatible protocols, which is Telnet and Modbus. So TCP-based protocols, just request response, Very simple. You need to have local access to the device to be able to do that. Not much security in the end. Then the second part is HTTP protocols, HTTP-based protocols, which is XML, JSON, and URL API. You can set up password for read only or read-write access, and it's based on HTTP request. Why to separate this category from the others? You need to have access to the local device IP to be able to get the device. So once you want to do it from the internet, you will probably need some additional network setup to be able to reach the device. So this is JSON. This is HTTP-based API, and the last category, which we can call even, let's say, cloud protocols or IoT protocols, is MQTT and NETO push. I also, let's say, TCP or HTTP based, but the difference in comparison to JSON API is that the one who is initiating the connection is the device. So it can be hidden behind firewall or router because the device goes to the server, not the server to the device. So it's basic differentiation what to do or which protocol to select when you are designing some system. It's good to consider this at the beginning. Then you can do everything over the API. If I will open this and it's disabled, that's why. Okay, I need to enable JSON API. Now it should work. No, doesn't work.
You said don't
probably.
save.
Yeah. I think the issue was just configuration. There is the list of all the features or the values you can read as a user. So you can get over API also. Every output, current, phase separately. Also the results of the PAB and watchdog states. So once you configure it yourself, you can use it that something is automated in the device and something is done in your server once you want to set up it. Also the result of the logical state of the rules. So it's a quick example about the JSON, and my favorite one is the MQTT. I recommend to study it because it's very nice, and it's event based. So that means MQTT keeps all the time open connection, so the reaction once you want to, for example, control the output is immediate. And also you can set up some kind of delta. For example, if the current will change by 200 milliamps, it will update you the value, otherwise not. For example, if you want to save data. Yeah. And there is a lot of possibility about the customization. Again, the description how to set up the protocol is on our wiki, including examples for everything. Additionally, if you are not sure, you can use, and I'm not sure it's not listed here, but it's in our website. Quite very good, let's say, advice or tutorials or application notes where you can find the examples how to set up the device, for example, for your use case or with some third-party devices. And there are examples how to do that step by step, even for the beginners. So that's a good way to start. So any questions to this API when we are here? Everything is clear?
No questions from the audience at this point.
Okay, so then Carola, you can switch back and we can continue.
Okay, then I will go back to my presentation. The next part would be probably the most interesting part for saving the energy, not from the automation, but mostly from saving the energy. And this is the scheduler. This was our most favorite function last year, especially when the electricity prices went up. It was very much used, and also with all the efforts of trying to save the environment too. In this use case, museums are very popular in using NETO for scheduler for controlling media players and lights, and some other exhibition areas generally. Quite often they are also used with one of our integration partners, which is ProDVX. They are making touch panels, and they are using basically we are using their panels as a control panel for the outputs. And in this case, basically they want to switch on switch off certain parts of the exhibition during nights and during the non-visiting hours to save, and then again there are times when they want to just solve some malfunction very quickly. This is also popular in cinemas quite a lot. In this case, in Poland, we got feedback that there was 38% of electricity saved, and return of investment was 11 months. And it was before even when the electricity prices were lower. Again, due to the higher power consumption of certain products that they had when they were off.
In general, using this, how to make the energy saving is to use the device's smart way. So you should know where to put it, where it can be most valuable from the point of view of saving the energy. So that's something what have to be done by you as a customers or integrators, because you know which devices are the most consuming one and so on.
Yeah. Quite often we have switching offs of the advertising booths, of vending machines as well, if there are some bigger ones, or general restartings of them. And in this case, there are also some ATMs not so much switched off, but regularly restarted. So maybe here for the last time, Baki will have the word to explain you the scheduler for the end.
Okay, so let's switch back again. I will just quickly show you how to set up the scheduler. It's in every device. For your scheduler, you need to have synchronized the time. So the device needs to be on the LAN, where is the NTP server. It doesn't have to be internet, but it has to be some local NTP server. It's possible. You can set up it in the device also to your local IP. For example, as Karla said, we are using the touch panels from ProDVX to set it up. With the tested ones, we recommend there is also possibility to use the touch panel as an NTP server, so it's completely independent from the internet in the end. And it's just by installing our mobile app and put there the correct one IP addresses to the settings. About the schedules, the approach is that you will set up the plan in the schedules menu, and you can have up to, I think, 32 schedules there. By your name, and you will select which hour, which day in week it should be switched on, and when it's switched off. And I have two. This means that it's only during the evening hours, for example, to light on some advertisement at the door input to the pub, for example. So it can be like this. Once you have set up this plan, you will assign it to the output. So you go to the output detail and select enable schedule, select which one should be there, and save the changes. Once you do this, based on your local time, it will set up the correct state. If the output has enabled scheduled, it's balanced here. One important thing, and it's connected to the power failures in general. Once the device is in the mode of scheduler, it's every time off until the device is shared that the output should be on in the end. Yeah, so it's waiting for the time synchronization after the power get back and the device is up. So it's generally about the scheduler. Now, about the use cases, and Karela said that one of the most use cases why to use NetIO is remote restarting if something has frozen. You can do it automatically or you can do it manually. Some system integrators don't want to do it automatically. They just want to be notified about some issue and decide what they want to do. For this, we have the cloud possibility. If you do not avail, or you, for example, it's too much costly to make your own system, you can use our one, which is online, it's NETO Cloud. At this moment, I'm connected to our demo devices cloud account, which I will show you now. So I will switch to the second window. I can keep open this one, and once I log in, it's standard online service. Yeah? So once you open the website cloudnetioproducts.com, it will ask you for a login, make an account. You will verify by your email and get to the basic organization. Once you set up, you can have this kind of dashboard where are all your outputs. Here's a tree view where you can have groups of the devices and categories. For example, if I will go and want to find this Power PDU for KS device, I will open the group and I will see the Power PDU for KS. Once I will select only this device, I will see the output of this device. The response is immediate. So once I will switch here off, you can see that it's switched off now here. What is quite nice is that you can also disable the schedule. So I can disable the schedule to deactivate the plan. It can be sometimes useful, for example, when you have the museum or some event room or showroom, and there is some night event. So that means there are, for example, the politicians and some important people, and you want to deactivate the calendar that it will not shut down everything at 6 because there are people still there. So you can manually override the schedule, and once it comes to the next interval when the output has to be on, you can enable it again, or it will switch automatically. Depends if you enable or just enable the schedule, or just disable the output or enable the output. So this is connected. In general, how to pair the device with the cloud? It's simple. Once you have an account, you will click here to add device. You can select the folder, the levels of the folders, how much you can have, what is the possibilities, depends on your subscription plan which you choose. You will select that, for example, I want to add this device to the folder server X or PDU, and I will copy this registration token. And one thing what you need to do is to put the token here. Yeah. So if I will remove this device now, so that's how I unpair from the cloud account. If I want to switch to anybody else, for example, and it will disappear. So you can see that the Power PDU for KS is not here anymore. No Power PDU for KS. So I want to edit. I will copy the token, put to the token, and click Add Device. Now I need to wait that the device will communicate with the server and negotiate all the connection informations based on your account. About the security, every communication which is done here is encrypted by standard SSL certificates, and once you join the device, every device is also its own credentials. So that means every device is unique password and username for the access. Yeah. Now I can see that the device is already again added to the account. So it's in general basic overview. Once you will go to the setup, there is a basic device management, firmware upgrade, setup of the name of the outputs. Everything can be customized from this point of view. What is also interesting is that even this NETO Cloud is made for system integrators. So that means you can organize the devices in the folders, and also you can have different users there. So once you have, for example, team for the monitoring and operation center, it can have different user rights and different access for than, for example, the technicians team, which is installing the devices. So everything this can be set up in the cloud and managed from one administrator, and the account is charged from the company account. So the user is different than the company. So it's kind of project. So it's just quickly about NETO Cloud, and I would like to add, because I saw there was some comment from that somebody from the electrical engineering. I would like to share you one thing which we are really proud of, and Carla said it is the smart way of controlling the relays. Once I will go, sorry, I'm not seeing because this is the Zoom menu. We have something what we call glossary. It's very interesting once you don't understand some term, some what we are saying somewhere, or even general principle by technology. You can open it and you can check what that means. There is general description what that means in the world, yeah, how it's used, and also the explanation of how it's used in our devices. So it's general explanation of the technology what is used in the today's world. But what I wanted to say is that we have something what we call zero current switching. If you know, we are switching the AC voltage. In the US, you have 110 volts. In Europe, we have 230. And what we are doing, we are timing switching the relay exactly when the voltage is in the zero. It has a very big effect on the relay damage in the end. Once you are switching only here, and these are real photos made by me. If you don't trust, you can come to Prague and I can show you in our lab. But definitely something what prolongs the lifetime of the device itself. So it's first point. Secondary, it eliminates the effects of inrush current, because if you switch at the zero potential, the inrush current peak is a little bit lower because it's starting from the zero and it disappears in something like 10 milliseconds. So this is the first point. And the last benefit is because these holes in the relays contacts are made by, I always say it's small lightnings inside. There is a spark between the contacts when there is a big potential when you are switching on. And doing this lightnings, you can also, for example, in audio hear that there is like loop, there is like noise. Once you are switching in the zero, you are eliminating this noise. So that means you are eliminating distortion, which is generating during the switching, even for the other devices which are connected to the device. So that means from the system integration, this feature is quite important from the whole quality of the system and the lifetime of the system. So it's just quickly, here's the explanation. You can study online everything what you want. Usually the importance if to have zero current switching, zero voltage switching or not depends on the load which you have connected to the PDU, and most of the loads are today this kind, like standard switching power supplies. So that was quick introduction. Carla, do you want to add something or finish some slides?
I will just finish in a minute. We are slowly closing 1 hour, so I will just tell you, take 1 or 2 more minutes from our side to give you an idea of additional use cases that sometimes can happen. We often have customers who manage IT systems for different types of companies, and they basically want to remotely switch on and off devices for them without bothering them or without needing to talk to them using API or using their own systems. Maybe interesting what we discussed at the beginning. There are a couple of use cases around Europe with the fire detection projects where you can where people are either controlling the cameras or some other devices that are connected to fire detection in general. This is also maybe interesting with digital input for smoke, not in this case, specific case, but there is digital input that we can talk about if you will be interested separately. And this is just as an idea for government projects. Usually we are restarting different AV equipments. We are scheduling basically on off when they need it. And mostly it is connected to heat. There is, this is just my last slide, general overview of the use cases. We are often restarting web cameras. We are automating warehouses, routers very often, different electric gates. I think there was a question about building automation. There are really different types of cases. There are people who are controlling the cameras. There are people who are controlling it with different fire alarm controls. There are people who are controlling it with a door, with different lights that are outside in the garden. Then some people even like to count how many times some garage doors were open and closed because they need it for certain cases, and you can do it from the power consumption and so on. This is something we discussed already. This reverse energy metering is growing for solar panels and so on. Maybe what is interesting is one of the additional use cases we didn't mention so far, but we are often in bigger use cases for processes of quality testing. There are a lot of big companies that take quite nice number of our products to basically test the software, to see what happens after hard restart and so on. This can be, I don't know, Baki, if you want to say anything additional about it, but it's quite, it can be quite interesting.
Engineer software test automation for, let's say, for example, restarting frozen device during the development, because when the software is not finished, there is a lot of issue, and the engineers are using this to get back to the default state by the restarting, and also to check what happens if somebody unplugged the TV. We have the case, for example, with the company which is developing the OS for operation system for smart TVs, and they are checking what happened if the energy gets suddenly down, and what happened then, and so on. Yeah. So it's quality testing in the end.
Yeah. So basically that is it from our side. We are closing an hour now, basically. I don't know if there are any more questions at the moment from anyone joining the webinar, or from Ulrich or.
I had one question that on the topic of energy power monitoring. Is there a way through the NetIO cloud or on the device server itself to visualize the energy consumption, you know, like over time, or is that only done through the API sending your power usage to a cloud application?
In general, it's not possible to visualize today. You can download the data for and which one is metered. I think this one. You can download the data in the table. So you will just select, okay, I want to have the export of consumption, and you will get a table which you can save and open, make your visualization as you need.
Okay.
Usually every customer has a little bit different needs, so that's why we keep it like this.
Exactly.
And more or less, if you want to automate something, that's what we are focused on. You don't need graphs, because the system are working based on values, not the graphs.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Does anyone else have another question for Bretislav?
We're very excited for questions.
Yeah. I was thinking when you were talking about the forest fire detection that we could certainly have used that. I should try to sell that to Canada.
Yeah, you can.
But yeah,
I can get over the exact use cases about it to you as well.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any in the Q&A session. We had one
In the chat, they had a customer
Yeah.
was asking. Customer was asking if we have a use case on intelligent building control.
In
Yes.
general, you can, Carla. Okay.
Yeah, so we have in when it comes to building automation or intelligent buildings, what we mostly have connections with is some kind of motion detectors, some kind of smoke detectors. There are sometimes use cases with cameras, basically for regular restarts in this type of sense. What I know. I don't know if Baki,
I
you
will
have something.
I will comment it in general that let's say smart power socket or possibility to switch something on and off which is connected to the power is quite general feature. Yeah, you can use it everywhere.
Right.
And in the end, the usage in the intelligent building depends on the other equipment which is there. So as I know, in the intelligent buildings, we are usually connected with, for example, with the Christian system by the driver. And the devices or control for or the others, yeah, for the let's say home automation, and the main task there is to, for example, enable or disable by scheduling or by user request some equipment which should be used in this room. So it's kind of, let's say, more AV installation, for example, than control. But what can be interesting, and we had such kind of requests, is what is the shortcut? Cogeneration units. Once you have for example, some local source of energy generation and also the external power grid source, we are also able to measure the reverse energy. That's what Carla said of the panels. So we can measure how much energy is consumed from the solar panels and some other generators. And based on that, if it get lower, we can, for example, decide to switch off something which is not needed to be in operation now. So in the end, it's based on installation and the needs of the customers and the creativity of the engineer who is installing the devices, because we are trying to give a universal device which can be configured to everything what you could need, in the end. But that's what I would say in general. It's a remote switching and restarting. Is that answer to your question?
I don't know, Juan, if that
Yeah, I
answers your
think so.
question.
Yeah. Okay. I think
Yeah. Yeah. No follow up there.
that.
All right.
Yes.
Are there any last questions for Carla or Bretislav?
We will be very happy also if you test any of our products. We are never afraid of you testing the products, because from years and years we know that everything is very reliable and that you will be happy in the end with playing. And there are so many use cases that we are every time shocked basically what comes out of it. So if you have any general feedback in future, please let Rick or Gary know, and we will also be happy to hear it further.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Carla and Bretislav for their time and preparation. A lot of effort went into providing this webinar today. We have also recorded the webinar, so it will be available. We'll send a link to everyone who signed up for the webinar, so you can view the recording on your own schedule. And it will also be available on our website. And I don't know whether I would like to put it on theirs as well. Of course, they're certainly welcome. So that's it for today. Thank you. And everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much also for your efforts.
Thank you for your attention. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Great job.